Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another episode of The Gentle Path. Tonight, I'd like to take a little time to explore something truly timeless. The treasures we gather as we walk through life. Not the kind you can stash away in a jewelry box or a bank account, but the treasures that fill the heart, strengthen the spirit, and make this journey so deeply meaningful. You know, the kind of riches we all hold dear when everything else fades away. Let's lean into this together, gently unfolding what these treasures mean and how we can keep cultivating them in our later years. Let's begin with the first treasure, and perhaps the foundation of them all: health and mobility. It's easy to take our bodies for granted when they move without struggle, isn't it? But as the pages turn and our years gather like the rings of an old oak tree, we start to truly understand what a privilege it is to rise from a chair without pain or stroll through the park without hesitation. Our health becomes a ticket to freedom. Freedom to travel, to visit loved ones, to simply keep doing the small and precious things we love. Yet too often, people fall into a well-meaning but misplaced mindset in retirement. I've earned my rest. While rest is important, the irony is that prolonged inactivity can actually take away the very mobility we treasure. Dr. Susan Harris, a specialist in geriatric medicine at Yale, once said, "Motion is the lotion for aging joints." How beautifully simple that is. Regular movement keeps everything, from our muscles to our circulation, humming along. Take Roger, for example. He's 78 now, but a few years ago, he was nearly confined to his recliner after decades of desk work. Then he decided to start walking, half a block at first, then a full mile within months. With each step, his knees hurt a little less, his confidence returned, and he reclaimed his days. It's not just about exercise, my friends. It's about vitality. Let's not forget that what we feed our bodies matters just as much as how we move them. Diets rich in whole, unprocessed foods can reduce inflammation, while processed foods and sugar can do the opposite, making stiff joints or fatigue worse. And then there's sleep. Oh, how it's the quiet healer. Quality rest lets our bodies repair, and yet so many of us don't prioritize it. Small habits like setting a consistent bedtime and reducing screen time before bed can go a long way. So, how's your body feeling today? Perhaps it's telling you where it needs a little more care and attention. Listening to it is one of life's great acts of self-kindness. Our second treasure is one we carry not in our hands, but in our hearts: deep, meaningful relationships. As we age, we start to see clearly that wealth isn't counted in possessions. It's measured in the warmth of our connections. Family, friends, neighbors. These are the people who fill our days with laughter, support us in moments of grief, and build memories with us that we're still reminiscing about decades later. And yet, relationships, as rich as they are, don't flourish all on their own. They need tending, patience, and presence. Take George, for instance, a retired architect who spent decades chasing deadlines at the expense of everyday moments. When he finally set his sights on retirement, he realized he barely knew his grandchildren and had drifted from his closest friends. But instead of falling into despair, George reached out, even when it felt awkward at first. Weekly phone calls turned into monthly lunches, and his calendar once again bloomed with people who mattered. It's a powerful reminder, isn't it? That just a phone call, a small message, or even a forgiving heart, reaching out where there's tension, can reopen pathways to love and connection. It's worth mentioning, too, that close relationships aren't just good for the soul, they're good for the body. The AARP has cited research showing that elders with strong social ties have lower levels of stress and live longer. So, in a way, nurturing your relationships is an act of self-care. Now, let's turn to our third treasure, a sharp and curious mind. I often find that when you talk to someone who remains deeply engaged with the world, their energy is just contagious, and that's no coincidence. Our minds are like our muscles. The more we use them, the stronger they stay. Yet when we withdraw from activities that challenge us, we can feel our sense of engagement begin to dim. Margaret, a retired nurse who had always been quick-witted, experienced this herself. But instead of accepting mental fog as an inevitable part of aging, she took up classes, started learning Spanish, and joined lively discussions at the library. She didn't just sharpen her memory, she reawakened her sense of purpose. Doctors and researchers alike agree. Lifelong learning isn't a luxury, it's essential. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Whether it's something as simple as experimenting with a new recipe, diving into a historical novel, or joining a local book club, these little sparks keep the brain agile and the spirit alive. Now, let's touch on a fourth treasure: emotional peace and gratitude. If I may, let me ask you, have you ever found yourself holding on to regrets, replaying the what-ifs from decades gone by? It's so natural, isn't it? But here's the thing. Carrying that weight doesn't make the load behind us any lighter. It simply makes the steps ahead harder to take. Eleanor, a beloved 79-year-old widow I know, had spent years mulling over the career choices she didn't make, the friendships she let slip, and the words left unsaid. One day, she had an epiphany. Instead of resenting the past, she'd celebrate the present. Every morning, she wrote down 3 little things to be grateful for. It could be as grand as a family visit, or as simple as the way the morning light poured through her window. That practice changed her world. Studies have shown that gratitude actually rewires the brain to look for joy. The World Health Organization even emphasized how gratitude reduces stress and boosts overall well-being. Isn't that reassuring? That something so small as a grateful heart can ripple out into such profound change. And finally, perhaps the treasure we leave behind, a legacy of meaning. When people ask themselves, "What will I be remembered for?" the answer rarely has anything to do with the size of their house or the balance of their inheritance. It's the values, kindness, and lessons we impart that live on. Walter, an 81-year-old retiree, realized this after a lifetime focused on financial success. In his later years, he began mentoring younger colleagues and writing down life stories for his grandchildren. Over time, his joy came not from what he'd achieved, but in what he'd shared. A legacy doesn't have to be grand, my friends. It's built in little acts. A few kind words, sharing wisdom, showing love. Remember, life's measure is not in what we take, but in what we give. As we close today, I encourage you to reflect. Which of these treasures do you cherish most, and which might you want to cultivate further? No matter where you are in life, it's never too late. One step toward health, one small call to a loved one, one new habit for your mind, one choice to forgive. Each step is a gift to yourself and those around you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. If something I've shared today has resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself and remember, this path we walk is a precious one, richer with every treasure we choose to embrace.